Hello and welcome to another edition of Dungeon of the Mad Mage. This latest session was a bit of a strange one for a number of reasons. One was that it was a little bit on the shorter side. We both started late due to a late arrival, and we also finished a little bit early due to the fact that we stumbled into a combat at the end of the session without enough time to resolve it. But the other thing that made it a little bit strange was that sadly it was the very last session of our wonderful rogue bard player Tix. Very sad, but the guy that was playing that character, he's had a change in his work schedule, and it means that he needs to drop out of our playing group, and he'll definitely be missed. You know, he was a stalwart member of the party. Kronos the barbarian, brilliant character. Tix, Sterling the rogue. You know, he's been some fun characters throughout, but things move on, and this meant that the session kind of needed to serve as a bit of a farewell to him. You know, you always want to kind of see off people with a bit of a bang and a farewell tour, but at the same time he hadn't actually been at the table for a couple of weeks due to illness, and so he had no idea what was going on. So yeah, like I say, a little bit of a weird session as a result. In terms of what actually happened, well, if you recall, we were on the 12th floor of the dungeon in hot pursuit of a drow priestess named Erlal Freth, who we believed had information about the whereabouts of a goblin named Kef, whom my character had been tasked to locate by the Harpers. And at the end of the last session, we had managed to break our way into the drow camp by basically taking out all of the drow in this one tower and then demanding to speak with the drow priestess. And we knew, thanks to a soul cage which I had, and which had allowed us to spy on the drow camp, and as a result we knew that the drow priestess was very keen to get rid of some minotaurs that were on the floor that were trying to summon Baphomet, and as luck would have it, we had already killed all of them. So, you know, we kind of used this as leverage at the end of the last session. We told the drow on duty, we're like, hey, look, we're clearly not to be messed with, we've taken out all of your guards, we've dealt with that minotaur issue, take us to your priestess. So that's where this session started, with us approaching the drow palace, and inside it was all very gaudy and covered in gold, and there were 44 drow on duty. Do you think that's enough? 44 drow and 4 Vrock demons who were disguised as drow. Now, you may recall that my character, Shield, has a list. It's a very binary list of the things that he is allowed to kill and the things that he is not allowed to kill. You know, he's only a couple of weeks old in game time, and so he's kind of learning about the world around him and about morality. You know, he is true neutral. He has no idea what's right and what's wrong, and so the party is kind of serving as his moral compass, such as it is. If we look at that list, on the kill side, we have drow. Okay, there are a lot of drow in this place, but I'm not completely suicidal. There's too many for me to kill. Okay, well, what about on the no list? Well, on the no list, there's 2 things: beautiful women and children. And here we have the drow priestess herself, clearly a drow and therefore on the kill list. But although my character has no sense of aesthetics, Raynome, our frog king, has promised that the drow priestess is indeed a beautiful lady, and she is pregnant, meaning there is a child inside her, which adds an element of grey, of moral quandary into proceedings, because Shield would really like to kill her because she's a drow, and that's what he was created to do, right? But you know, Shield's been through a bit of a voyage of self-discovery over the last few sessions, it must be said. He's been learning to trust the party, that maybe they know better than he does, and now he's starting to understand that maybe, perhaps, not all drow are bad? Question mark? I mean, obviously we used to have a drow in the party, Mama Leota, and it's revealed to us very quickly during this confrontation that Mama Leota was in fact from House Freth. In fact, she was this priestess's sister. And although Erlal makes it very clear that she's happy her sister is dead, would my character feel happy killing his former party member's family member? Shades of grey right there. I mean, she's pregnant with Mama Leota's niece or nephew. Would I want to kill that person? And so it is with all of these thoughts kind of bubbling away in Sheeld's head that we enter the priestess's chamber. He sees her there, reposed, heavily pregnant, and he steps forwards and he announces, "Good news! I have decided I am not going to kill you today." Surprisingly, the conversation goes much better from there than I thought it would. Mostly because we had apparently done the drow quite a good solid by killing off all of those minotaurs, who would have known. And all that we wanted in exchange, really, was to be shown the way to the next floor, which is really easy for them to do, because they kind of want to get rid of us. So they're like, well, yeah, go that way. Don't come back, please. And the other thing was to get information about Kef, the goblin. And so, on the first part, she's all too happy to oblige. She wants to get rid of us. And on the second part, she's like, don't kill any more of my people, and you're free to go, she says. Bygones be bygones. Okay, you've done us a solid. Get out of here. On the second part, she reveals to us that any goblins that they take into the camp, any goblins that they capture, are immediately taken as slaves, which they feed to their troglodytes. Obviously, the drow use troglodytes to do heavy lifting and so on, and so apparently they live on a diet of goblins. And so she waves her hand dismissively outside. Oh, he's out there, if he's anywhere. He's probably going to be dead by now. They don't last very long. Okay, so we go outside, and to our surprise, he's not dead. He is one of a handful of goblins who are still alive, huddled inside the cage. He has lost one of his arms, but he's still alive. And so the party spends a few minutes kind of discussing what's the best way to proceed here. Do we break him out? Do we distract the guards? There's a lot of attention on us right now, lots of people looking at us, until I realize, hey, actually there's an easy way to do this. He is a slave, as in property. So I just say, that's the goblin I'm looking for. How much? And I'll buy him off you. Sometimes the easiest ways are the best. So there we go. We get Kef free, nice and simple. I give him a set of chainmail and a shield, which was just sitting around in my inventory, gathering dust. And so we let him go free, but not before quizzing him a little bit about the floor below. What was he doing down there? Because Kef had, of course, been sent by the Harpers to explore Tobriel's graveyard, the 13th floor, and to return to the surface with information. He went there, and he was on his way back when he got captured by the drow. And so we quiz him a little bit about this. We say to him, what's it like down there? What's going on down there? It turns out that Tobriel is a mechanic. He's one of Hallister's apprentices, and his graveyard is more of a kind of massive junkyard. Apparently this floor is just swarming with his magical creations, including a giant metal purple worm, giant metallic scorpions, and metal spiders, one of which we've already seen on this floor. I didn't mention it already, but the tunnels around this area where we currently are, they're filled with thick metallic webbing like iron girders. And we're like, do we really want to explore this place? I mean, is there anything there for us? It sounds like Kef's saying, no, leave that place well alone, it's bad news. All right, we will. Well, as luck would have it, as we are being shown the way to the stairs down to the next floor, we pass by another alcove, another magical portal. This one has a minotaur carved into it, and so we spend a few minutes trying to figure out how to open it. We first take a minotaur skull from our bag of holding, we hold it up to it. No, that does nothing. Then we think, well, maybe we need to speak in Minotaur to open the portal. So does anyone in the party know how to speak Minotaur? And our Frog King, Rainome, he says, let me try. And he steps forwards, he touches the portal and he says, moo. And wouldn't you know it, he disappears. And he ends up inside a labyrinth. Yes, that's right, he has triggered a maze spell with a DC of 22 to escape. Almost impossible, my gosh. And while he's rolling intelligence saves, the rest of us are all standing about like, where's he gone? Portal isn't open. Was that actually Minotaur that he spoke? Can anyone check that? So one of the other party members also tries mooing, but nothing happens. So then we're debating amongst ourselves, maybe Minotaur is a tonal language. Maybe it's not about what you say, it's the intonation, which is followed by about 5 minutes of us just sitting around the table doing cow impressions while Reno and the Frog King is rolling intelligence saves and with guidance added on top. And blessedly, he eventually manages to roll enough to escape. And with that, the portal bursts into life. And this portal, it turns out, actually goes down 2 floors to the 14th floor, conveniently skipping Tobriel's graveyard. Now, technically, we would be under-leveled if we went to the 14th floor, because we would level up going through Tobriel's graveyard. But so we're kind of debating amongst ourselves, do we go to the 14th floor? Would we stick around in Tobriel's graveyard? There's nothing there for us. And after a bit of debate, we're like, well, what would our characters do? They probably would just go straight to the 14th floor. So we step through the portal and we arrive on the 14th floor. It's another natural cave-like place. We very quickly find a bunch of carrion crawlers that we ignore. We go around, we find like a weird 9-foot tall dwarf monstrosity that attacks us, and we take him down quite easily. And then we finally end up inside a room with a bunch of hobgoblins and fire giants who all attack us on sight. It's a very good fight, and appropriately it ends with Tix the Rogue Bard dealing the finishing blow by rolling a nat 20 against one of the fire giants. A nat 20 with a sword of sharpness, a nat 20 with a sentient sword of sharpness that he specifically declared ahead of rolling that he was aiming at the giant's groin. A sentient sword of sharpness, which, and I am not making this up, after adding sneak attack damage and doubling that, he got a very nice 69 points of damage. And so, it was only one way it was going to end. He is a bard, it is his last session, and so when the DM says, how do you want to do this? The answer is, well, I think the dice have already decided how it's done. I cut off his dong. So yeah, we do that. Kill a giant by cutting off his member. And that's where the session ends, because at that moment a bunch of reinforcements arrive. They look angry, there's a lot of them, and the DM's like, we're not going to get through that in the time remaining. We had maybe half an hour left before our usual finish time. As things stand, we currently have no idea what's going on this floor. We're just stumbling about. As always happens when you first arrive on a new floor, there's a bit of finding your feet to start with. We have no idea who the factions are, we have no idea what's going on. All we know is that we've just killed a bunch of giants and hobgoblins, and there's a bunch more that have just arrived. We are under-leveled on this floor, and we're about to lose one of our party members. Lovely! But perhaps not all is lost, for we do plan to replace Tix's player character. Not in our hearts, of course, but at the table with another player. We are going to actually trial a new guy at our next session, so this week. And as such, our DM has announced that he's going to run a one-shot with the party, just to kind of give us a chance to test out the new group dynamic and make sure that it works ahead of plunging into the full campaign. So I'm looking forward to that. But in the meantime, I hope you enjoy this video as always. If you have stuck around until the end, do consider doing all of the usual YouTube pleasantries. The like button is right there. It takes like a millisecond to click on it, and it boosts my channel so much in the process. So subscribe, bell icon, comment. I love to hear from you guys. And in the meantime, have a wonderful week, and I will catch up with you all again next time. Take care.